increment, and these are miscellaneous things that are bundled in BibleWorks, I almost never use them. Okay, this is a supposed devotional thing called the Daily Light. When you first installed BibleWorks, you were stuck with seeing that stupid thing. Okay, Daily Light. Oh, here's your inspirational verse for the day. Honey, if that's what you need for inspiration, then you don't know Bible yet. I don't know why anybody would even want that. Now, we learned how to shut that off in BibleWorks options. I think it was in startup options. Okay. Or no. When you first install it, you get the ability to shut it down, so it won't come up all the time. But I don't see it anywhere here in startup options or shutdown options. I shut it down some other way. I forget how. All right. It's just a useless, time-consuming thing. But if you shut it down and you now want to look at it because you need inspiration, then you can look at that. See, July 6, 2012, loving kindness is before my eyes. Please. And then here's your option. See, loaded program start. That must have been how I unclicked it. Okay, see it's unclicked? That means it's not going to start with the program. Use Baxter text if KJV. I mean, honey, you don't need this. You either got God or you don't. Use 1 John 1:9 and you won't need these little simpering emotional things. If you're living on emotion to learn the Bible, then you really got big problems. Use 1 John 1:9 and God will get you out of that. I mean, I was like that too when I was young in Christ. All right? Now I'm turning into an old militant person. Christ was pretty militant in John 6, but I don't think I'm good yet like that. I need to be a better kind of militant person. Okay, this feature is really useful. It's called Bible Outline. My computer is slowing down again. Because I've set my font so large, I've shown you this before, because I've set my font so large, you can't see. I have to change the search version to NAU. I'm afraid my computer's going to crash on me because I'm doing this. This is because I can't disable the mouse hooks. I'm afraid this program's going to crash. Alright, so if I want to search on it, I want to show this verse. I keep looking in my notification area to see if the program's going to crash. Alright, it took me to the verse when I clicked on it. See, that's Numbers 21:21, which you can't see because my font sizes are so big. So when you click on the verse in the Bible outline, you go there. This thing here in this little box is the same thing as this thing here. Oh God, am I going to crash? See, it's the same thing as this thing here. But you'll notice when I moved my mouse, it automatically moves too fast. So now I can lose my place. So that's why using that other Bible outline, this one is kind of better. Except as you'll notice, the program is slowing down significantly. And so I'm going to shut off this increment before I crash. But that's the Bible outline. Okay, we're going to try that again. Resources, miscellaneous, Bible outline. Okay, it's too big because my fonts are too big. I have to have them too big in order to do the video so that you can see the fonts on screen. And as you can see, this is a lot easier to use than this in the sense that while this is much more comprehensive, your mouse moves too easily and you can lose your place. Okay, so if you're worried about that, then you use this thing. Okay, and in order to use it, of course, you have to be on a search version in English. Otherwise, it won't work, as we just saw in the last increment. Okay. So now I want to go back to miscellaneous. And the next thing is the timeline, which we've already seen before in buttons. And that was when I showed you right over here, the circle with the backwards clock. The shorthand is where the longhand should be, and the longhand is where the shorthand should be. So that looks like it's saying 10 minutes to 2. Only the hands are reversed. So that's also the button for the timeline. And that's kind of useful for later history. It's not very useful for creation up until the Exodus. It's also inaccurate with respect to Samuel and Saul. And there's certain other places it's inaccurate, because people, if they just use the Bible's own timeline, they would get the accurate dates, but they're not using the Bible's own timeline. They're using Dear Dr. So-and-so, like Bishop Ussher, to say that creation occurred 4,100 years ago. It's 4106. Bishop Ussher made a small math error. And it wasn't even creation, it was Adam's fall, which Genesis 3:22 tells you. So see, the point is that the timeline is useful, but you can edit it, but it's also got mistakes, and therefore you can edit them out. That's the good news. All right? I mean, really, BibleWorks is the most comprehensive and easiest to use software on the internet, as far as I can tell. I'm investigating another one called the Word software, which has a lot of features in common with BibleWorks, but really, I don't see how anybody's going to be able to marshal the structure the way these guys have. The guy who wrote this program is a genius, no doubt about it. But of course, nobody's perfect, so there are glitches, as you've heard me complain. Very few complaints, however. All right, so now we're back to resources, and we're down in miscellaneous. And, you know, this is a SOP, Daily Light. Bible Outline we've just seen. BibleWorks Timeline we've just seen. Westminster Confession, honey, hey, you're a Calvinist. You think the Westminster Confession is just as equal to the Word as the Word itself? Well, that's your problem. All right, you can even search on it if you're really that hooked. There are your little buttons that you can select to search on the Westminster Standards. I submit to you that if you're hooked on the Westminster Confession, you do not know how to read Bible. Because the Westminster Confession, especially with regard to the definition of Trinity, is extremely badly worded. It was worded by spiritual idiots. They didn't know they didn't know what Trinity meant. They're right that God is triune, but they sure as heck didn't know how to describe it. The Westminster Confession is stupid. I throw it out. But if you don't want to, that's fine. Now we come into Greek transcription. All right? This is a very sophisticated tool for how do you analyze Bible syntax. In this case, he's restricted it to the New Testament because the guy has actually indexed every single verse in the New Testament for syntax. Now, if you did not learn your own native language, if you did not learn syntactical structures in your own native language when you were in grammar school, you know, before you graduated from high school or college or secondary school or whatever you call it, if you didn't learn that, then you're gonna be able to learn it here. What he's done, and I can't highlight it because this is a photocopy of the book. What he did was he took syntactical phrases in each book, each verse. Here it's Matthew 1:1. Then you have again that's Matthew 1:9. So he goes through, you know, verse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through 9. And this is all, in his idea of it, it's a paragraph. All right, and he uses colors to show you how the same idea is repeated. See, there's another word for this called chiasmus, where the writer is circling back to a point he made prior. And what MacDonald is doing is he's color coding the beginnings and endings of sections and paragraphs so that you can follow more. See, this is all in green. This is green here and green here. Okay, and he's keeping the colors because see here it's David again in red in Matthew 1:18, so you know that relates back to Matthew 1:1. So this can be kind of helpful, all right, for diagnosing when the Bible writer is going back to a point he made prior in circles. The Bible is written in concentric circles. Genesis is the first circle in the very middle, and then all the outer rings are hubbing around Genesis. This is one way you know God wrote this book, because it's 1,500 years, it's still got this kind of coherence with 66 books and 44 different authors. It had to be God's mind behind it all to have this much coherence. But you won't know the coherence if you don't study it. And this is one way to study it. Now, God does the same thing with Bible Hebrew meter, using even Greek words that I've been showing you in the 11 GGS videos on Paul's Ephesians 1:3-14. This is essentially what I'm doing. It's the same kind of thing, only with respect to the meter. Now, do you need to be this complicated when you do it? Well, no. But if you want to understand what the writer's writing and the structure of his book, yeah, you got to do this. All right? My pastor did it this way. He taught it to us this way, although he didn't make us go through all these, he didn't make us go through the verses like this. This is what he did. He separated out the syntax. And he didn't necessarily write it out like this. But when he analyzed it and read the book, this is what he noticed. And he told us about that. Break it by syntax. Use the syntax. So MacDonald's Greek transcription might be helpful for you if you're willing to do that legwork. I submit to you, you do not know the Bible until you know the outline of the books. And in order to know the outline of the books, you have to know the outline of the chapters. In order to know the outline of the chapters, you have to know the paragraphs within the chapters, and that's what this guy does. Okay? So I submit to you this is a useful thing, and I think it's bundled with BibleWorks. Okay, now, fitting that, what goes with that, okay, the transcription here, okay, is this thing up here which I didn't cover, okay, which is the Enchiridion. He wrote this also, okay. This is basically telling you how to understand the color coding, all right. And I can't show this to you. I don't think. Yes, I can. All right, good. All right. So, like for example, under verbs, you got verb forms, and he's showing you how to parse them. Okay, this is an alternative to diagramming a sentence. Parsing the verbs so that you get a sense of how they work. All right. This is a faster way to learn the language. All right, than the paradigms. It's easier to memorize the paradigms, but you still don't know anything when you memorize something. You memorized your multiplication tables in 3rd grade or 2nd grade. Okay, but does that mean you know how the numbers actually work? Not really. That's like driving a car. You know how to drive the car, but you don't know how the car's engine operates. Okay, with the Bible, you got to learn how the engine operates. So this Enchiridion is a neat way of just quickly at a glance seeing the different kinds of nuances, like here for the verbs. All right, see, kinds of action, that's real cool. And there's the aorist tense, and you get to see this one in particular, translational options. See, all right, so that's for the present. It's either present progressive, he is loosing himself, or he looses himself. Loose means to release. Luo means to release. So it really, instead of saying looses, it would be better if he said releases, or unleashes, or unties, because that's what luo really means. But looses is, it's hard to say, but you know what it means. Okay, so this is a pretty decent book to get, and it's already bundled in BibleWorks. That's the Greek Enchiridion. Okay, and I'm not crashing. All right, so this miscellaneous book here on transcription is related to this Greek grammar of the, where is it? The Enchiridion right here. So those two books are related. Unfortunately, they're in different sections of the, BibleWorks menu. But he's got the same author, so just remember it that way. All right, so that's available here. Okay, then you have Archer and Quirigno. Looks like it's Italian. Chirigno. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I haven't spoken Italian since I was 20. These are Old Testament quotations in the New Testament. This is not a complete list. I want to make sure that you know that. All right? Practically every single verse in the New Testament alludes to or quotes something in the LXX or the Masoretic, what we call the Masoretic text. All right? You will know which is which when you look it up. All right? But if you want to just look at them individually, the passages in the Old Testament, and find out where they're quoted in the New, this might help you. Okay? So this is kind of interesting to use. The thing that's even more interesting to use is that if you go to the New Testament, that's one of the other main features of BibleWorks that makes it worth more than gold, is, and especially in BibleWorks 5, but it's still retained to some extent and even enhanced. See this down here? These are the verses that relate. All right? This is not quoting any Old Testament verse, but it is quoting passages in the Old Testament that verify what Matthew is saying. All right? And the writers, of course, knew this. But it gets even more. Let me see if I can do Matthew. Let's do the book. Let's do the browse mode, because that's what's neat about NAU. Is that when it comes across, see, this is a quote. I'm using this in my synoptics. What's nice about the NAU version is that when it finds a quotation of the Old Testament, it puts the whole thing in caps, so it's really easy to find. All right. At the same time, if you're looking down at the bottom window, all right, you can no longer, in BibleWorks 8, you can no longer right-click and get the actual verse in a new browse window. They won't let you do that anymore. But at least you can see what verses are being quoted. These things are not always right, but they're so often right, they're very useful. And it's not only the TSK database you got all these other databases. Like you could use the cross-references from the TNIV version if you wanted, or from Naves. Okay, I'm not real fond of Naves, but there you go. Okay, I like TSK a lot and I use it a lot, but now I can't get it. Here we go. This is the one I use the most, but there's other ones that are good too. You can't get enough concordances. All right, this operates just like a concordance. It's showing you associated verses. All right, these are quotes that you see marked very clearly in the NAU version, which is why I use it so often in my videos, to show the Old Testament quote, so that you can see that that's what it is, and that it's not brain out telling you it's an Old Testament quote. Somebody else recognizes it too. And then, of course, what I can do in my BibleWorks 5 is I can click on the verse, and then I can open up a pop-up window, and in BibleWorks 5 I get an option to open up a new browse window. Okay, so I can take you straight to the verse and show you the quote and show you how in the Greek of the New Testament it's literal, it's verbatim, or it's taking only certain swatches of the Old Testament, and usually in the LXX. Okay, so that's what this little book here, Resources, T quotes in the NT, that's what that book covers, and it's bundled with BibleWorks. Then you have something called a biographical Bible. I've never read this before, so I have no idea what it's going to look like. That's also bundled with BibleWorks, and my screen is dying. So I think I'll show that to you in the next increment. We're going to stop now. We're looking at the Stephen biographical Bible that was hanging up when I just finished the last increment. I have it in the bottom window with the yellow highlight, and I have to keep it there because I can't show both of these on screen at once. The Stephen biographical Bible, as you can see, is on the entry for Abinadab because it's a biography of the people. As you can see, the entry is extremely sparse. It just says David's older brother. It gives you verses, and it gives you the names that are associated with him. In the top window, which I cannot click on because this bottom window will disappear if I do, The top window is something else in BibleWorks under your heading of Bible dictionaries in the resources. If you clicked on resources, you come down to an entry in the resources dialog box that says Bible dictionaries, and this is one of the Bible dictionaries that you have. It's ISBE Encyclopedia, which of course you can download for free on the web or buy. And its entry on Abinadab is obviously there's a lot more in it. That doesn't mean it's better. Sometimes the ISBE entries are really kind of simpering, and sometimes they're really good. But it is a standard. Okay, it's International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, and everybody uses it. So it's up to you whether you want to use the Stephan Biographical Bible or ISBE. Now when I go to click on ISBE, this thing wasn't supposed to do that. This is going to disappear. It shouldn't, but it does. I can't explain why it disappears. When I click on this one, that disappears. So I can have two of them online if I've clicked that one first. Okay, but when I click this one, I want to show you, you have two other Bible dictionaries that cover the same material. You've got Fawcett, which is another old-fashioned standard from the 19th century. A lot of good scholarship got done in the 19th century. We're still living on it. Okay, that's Fawcett, and that's Easton. Okay, so as you can see, the Easton and the Fawcett entries are shorter, but they both say more than Stephan does. So you can think of Stephan as like, hi, I just want the quickest reference possible as it relates to the Bible. So look, you put your finger or your cursor on the verse and you get a pop-up of the verse. Okay? So you know what he's talking about. That's kind of handy. Alright? But if you want stuff, so you'd have to click on this to go to David. And I don't know if it's going to take me to the entry without bombing. And of course here's David, the David entry. And they're all indexed to other people. Okay, so this is like the Stephan Biographical Bible differs from the upper ones that you saw, Fawcett and ISBE and in Easton, in that it's more indexed. It's not giving you he's not giving you his own explanation. It's indexed to all these verses, and you can just look up the verses. And of course, David is one of the most mentioned people in the Bible. That's why this is so extensive. But that's kind of handy. All right? So it's a different approach to telling you the biography. This one is relying more on the Bible verses that relate to the person. Okay? Now, of course, what you could just do, and I'll hang up the machine if I do it. It's already starting to hang up. I'll show you the alternative in the next increment, because the machine is starting to go bad again, because I really can't disable the mouse hooks, even though they tell me I can. So I'll come back in the next increment.